Last week, China sent a very clear message, not just to the world, not just to the countries it wants to pull in its orbit, but very directly to Donald Trump's America. And the moment that grabbed the most attention, of course, the giant military parade. Now, the parade itself wasn't even the most important part of the week, but since it was the big visual spectacle, let's start there. We know Trump loves a military parade. He even insisted on having one of his own in Washington because that's what he thinks strong leaders do. But here's the thing, the US military might be the most powerful in the world, but when it comes to pure spectacle, China leaves everyone else in the dust. And sure enough, while Trump went on social media accusing China President Xi Jinping, Putin, and Kim Jong Un conspiring against America, the real observers, the ones who don't tweet in all caps, were watching closely to see what new weapons China was rolling out. And there was plenty to notice. The Dongfeng 61, China's most advanced nuclear intercontinental ballistic missile, on public display for the first time. New anti-drone defenses, clearly inspired by lessons learned from the war in Ukraine. A ship-borne laser designed to target aircraft, and the most worrying for the US, hypersonic anti-ship missiles. Why is that such a big deal? Because America's global power has long rested on its aircraft carriers, but those carriers, which cost tens of billions of dollars, are now considered essentially helpless against hypersonics. Some analysts even warn China could wipe out America's aircraft carriers within the first 20 minutes of a conflict. Now, if you ask me, that's the real message of China's parade. Deterrence. Shows so much strength that no one dares challenge it. But here's the catch. China's military may look formidable, but it's still untested. And history tells us that untested armies often stumble when war actually comes. Now, while the weapons were impressive, the image that mattered most wasn't military hardware. It was President Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, and Kim Jong-un walking side by side towards the podium. No Western leaders present, but plenty of global South leaders were. Because this wasn't just a military show, it was paired with a two-day economic summit. Over 20 leaders, including India's Narendra Modi, gathered to hear Xi Jinping outlined what he calls Global Governance Initiative. 5 principles were shared. Sovereign equality, all countries, big or small, treated equally. International law, no double standards. Multilateralism, no unilateral dictates from one superpower. A people-centered approach, narrowing the North-South gap, and most importantly, turning words into actions. Now, yes, the irony is thick. China doesn't always follow its own rhetoric, neither does Russia. But the point is the pitch. President Xi Jinping is offering the global South an alternative to Trump's America, where tariffs, threats, insults dominate US foreign policy. Ask the Canadians about that, they know very well. Take India, for example. Washington long saw New Delhi as a counterweight to Beijing. But after Trump slapped 50% tariffs on India, insulted Modi, and even demanded a Nobel nomination, India cooled on the US, and while Modi skipped the military parade, he did show up for the economic summit. That alone speaks volumes. And this is the biggest shift. Southeast Asian countries who are wary of China's rise still turned up in force. The BRICS bloc is finding common cause, even if they're not yet united behind China as the leader. And countries Trump is squeezing hardest are warming to Beijing's message of shared futures over Washington's America first tariff threats. The US response, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent dismissed the whole thing as performative, called India and China bad actors, but noticeably didn't call out Russia, who was right there in the room as well. That says it all. President Xi Jinping, meanwhile, didn't even mention the US by name. He didn't have to, of course. His speech drew a sharp contrast. Humanity faces a choice, peace or war, dialogue or confrontation. win-win outcomes or zero-sum games. Zero-sum games, hard not to guess who that was aimed at. So here's the bottom line. China is building a military it hopes never to use, one designed to intimidate, to deter, and to make the US think twice about defending Taiwan. Trump's tariffs and tantrums are pushing the global south closer together quicker than ever, with China, Russia, and even India finding common cause in resisting American pressure. And that's just why this wasn't just a military parade. It was a 3-day PR operation, one of China's most effective yet. The global economy isn't just shifting, it's being rewritten right now in real time. And if you want to cut through the noise and see the patterns and actually understand what's really going on behind the headlines, you're in the right place. Subscribe for reasonable explanations of complex geopolitical and financial moves shaping our world, because the next twist is already coming. I'll see you in the next one.